So day 1 of the Cologne CSGO Major has ended with me doing quite well in the Pick'em Challenge. I managed to get 7 out of the 8 games, which I'm very happy with, due to the only game I lost was Fnatic versus FaZe, which I think a lot of people would have struggled to guess. I decided to make a quick video for you guys to give you guys a bit of insight into day 2 and some facts and my opinion of who's going to win those games. I'm not just going to list out the teams that I think should win or who I'm picking, because obviously I want you guys to make up your own mind. I'm just going to give you guys, like I said, some statistics of their past games, how some players have been doing, and really let you guys decide who you want to pick. So the first game we're going to be looking at is the Danish team Astralis vs Gambit Gaming. I would say this is definitely, for day 2, one of the more one-sided matchup, as Astralis is clearly the dominating factor in this CSGO match. Yeah, so actually taking a look at CSGO Nuts, these two teams have actually only ever played each other once a few months ago, in a best of 1 on Train, and Astralis took it in a fairly convincing fashion against Gambit. I meant to say fashion, but that's okay. Gambit have been winning most of their games to lower tier opponents, because obviously they're a lower tier than Astralis, so obviously they're going to be going up against lower tiers. They have gone up against 2 tier 1 teams in the past month, which one is VP, which they actually lost 3 maps very badly to, but did manage to steal 1 off of them. Yeah, and they also went up against Envious, which they lost both of the maps to, but to be fair, they were actually quite close games. They weren't just complete stomped by Envious. So Gambit's opponent, Astralis, obviously came into the tournament and managed to actually take out Dig, but they did look a little bit shaky, considering normally they took out Dig a lot cleaner. So you know, we don't know this, not very far into the major, how they're going to play throughout it, but they did look a little bit shaky on that one performance. Before they came to the major, they did lose against NiP and TSM, but both these teams have been playing, decently well. TSM, it's kind of come out of nowhere and, gone insane. But they also lost to Cloud9, and really they shouldn't be. So obviously they're not on their, they're not playing as best they possibly could, but maybe the major will change that. But I mean, all these teams they did get beat by are better than Gambit, so it's not like they're getting beat by teams like, worse than Gambit. So the upset potential for Gambit is probably quite low here. I do think that Astralis should be able to take this quite easily from Gambit and move on to the quarterfinals. Yeah, I would also just like to add midway through that my main source that I'm using here is actually CSGO Nuts for the past maps, and it's just, I like looking at it a lot. It looks a lot nicer than HLTV and GoSu Gamers, but sometimes they take a while to update some matches, so hopefully they haven't missed any out. But if a game literally was played yesterday, sometimes it takes a while to get on their system, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, so the next game we're going to be looking into is CLG vs Dig, which I think is quite a good pairing for them to go against each other, because both of them kind of did a little bit better than everyone expected, especially CLG. CLG going 16-13 and Dig going 16-12. So according to the CSGO Nuts database, they've played 3 maps against each other. One of them was over a year ago, so this is when CLG had JDM. They're a lot, they were playing a lot better most likely, and that was a close matchup anyway. And then one was a bit more recent, with one map being very close and the other map Dig taking 16-10, I believe. So really it does show that Dig's on better form, and especially after they've lost JDM, Dig should be, playing a lot better, and ultimately should probably take CLG in this matchup. And also, I do think Dig is looking stronger than CLG in my opinion, to just looking at how close their game was compared to a tier 1. Even with one of their best players being Rubino was playing, he wasn't playing as good as he could be, he was slacking quite a lot. And also, I'm not sure if this is 100% correct, I can't actually find any sources, but I'm pretty sure one of the analysts said that this is Config's first major with the team, or his first major, I can't quite remember. Anyway, he did really well, he went insane, so yeah, props to him, and if he turns up like he did again, I think he will secure the victory for Dig. Yeah, so Dig has a bit of a weird pre-major game history, maybe a month or a few months before the major, because it looks like they're doing bad because they lost so many other games, but really they're up against some of the best teams in the world, the top tier teams, and they're actually making the scoreline fairly close. And they actually were able to beat TSM while TSM were, almost godlike. They were playing really well. They were taking maps of high tier teams. So yeah, they actually managed to beat them as well. But looking at the North American competition, CLG, I mean, CLG didn't do bad in their last game. I mean, they actually did really well compared to what people thought they were going to play against Gambit. And they actually managed to fairly recently take a map off Australis and then lost 16-7 on another map and 16-11. But I mean, still, that's fairly good scoreline against Australis. I think, as you could tell through what I've been saying throughout, that I do think Dig is going to take this one, but there is a chance, as it's a best of one, for an upset here. I think CLG could pull something big out of the bag, but I personally think the safer bet and the team that I honestly do prefer is Dignitas. So I'm gonna be going for Dignitas on this one. So the third matchup is Nip vs Na'Vi, which is probably one of the hardest predictions for day 2, as both of the teams have just been playing extremely well. They've had very good fragging ability, and yeah, I think we just got to wait and see if Guardian shows up. But that said, Guardian does have a history of struggling in majors, and Nip has an insane history of just never being counted out. You can't count Nip out of a game. They always have that small chance of, well, I say small, it actually happens quite a lot, but that chance of a comeback just from their, they've got such a good mental strength. I feel like they've done a bad morale, their players aren't toxic, they're always ready to get back into a game. But both teams, Nip and Na'Vi, both destroyed their day 1 competition. I think Nip's been playing very well prior to the major. They beat Australis, and I think they actually had to take in like a 7 or 6 round comeback into the game, even though it was looking very bleak. Everyone was counting them out. There was GG's in the Twitch chat, but Nip came back into it. Yeah, and Nip actually won both of those maps against Australis, according to CSGO, now 16-14, so they're obviously playing very well at the moment. And Nip's past games is also one of those another stories of, oh, it looks like they're doing awful, but I mean, their past games, as much as they did lose quite a few of them, I mean, they were up against teams like SK and G2, which obviously, like I've been saying, are playing insane at the moment, best teams in the world. Both of them are definitely top 3, if not SK. SK and G2 are both, competing for the top place. But they also lost to Immortals, which is the former Tempo Storm team, which is another Brazilian team just like SK, which I think is, they should be beating Immortals. Na'Vi's actually had quite a lot easier past matches. They've been going up against a lot of, they're tier 1. They've been going up against a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 teams, so they've won their past 7 out of 8 games. But for this matchup, I am going to choose Nip just purely because I do believe they're going to win, and Guardian has a history of not showing up. But this game is pretty much 50-50, in my opinion. Obviously, all of this is my opinion. But I'm just going to go for Nip, but really this is a game that could go either way. So the 4th game being played tomorrow is Flipside vs Optic. They both got absolutely destroyed in the day 1 games, and they both just got destroyed. I mean, at least Flipside had a little bit of hope. I think they put 7 rounds up, but I'm pretty sure Optic got wiped off the face of the planet by getting destroyed 14-16, I believe, if I can remember, by Nip. Flipside and Optic did play last month in a best of 1, and Optic won in a dominating fashion. 16-7 was the scoreline on Train, but I honestly do think this isn't like a lot of people are going to base this one game on what they should pick, but I think all this really shows is that Optic might have a very slight upper hand, but more or less that Flipside's going to ban Train. I think that really all it really shows. I'm going to go for Flipside in this one. There's not really a lot of information given about these two teams going against each other. Flipside had been playing okay. They did all right against Na'Vi. They put some good score lines up. Optic got destroyed. They've been playing okay as well. But more or less, I'm just going to go for Flipside in this one. Yeah. The 5th game today, and probably the most emotionally hard, which I know it sounds a bit, just a bit. But it's probably the hardest to pick because it's Liquid versus VP, and I really want both of these teams to do well. They both have really good personalities on, and I'm not talking about Simple. No, that was a joke. Simple's great. I mean, they both played games today, and they both crushed the people they were up against. They both looked unstoppable, and I'm not really quite sure who will have the upper hand in this matchup. One thing I can say is both of these teams had amazing comebacks, and this should be an all-out brawl of a game tomorrow if they are both in that form. So VP and Liquid last played over a year ago, so it's more or less outdated because there's been major changes to their rosters, so it'd be unfair to base anything off of that. So before the major, VP actually lost 2 maps against Envious, and really this does show that VP was not playing the A game beforehand, because Envious slacking a little bit, as we actually saw against their game on Liquid. I think VP probably should have won that, but VP always seems to turn up just to get that legendary spot, just to get to the quarterfinals, or sorry, past the group stages, and they've proven it so far. They always do well in majors. Liquid, on the other hand, pre-major, took 2 maps off G2 and held a very decent and respectful score against SK, who some people say the best team in the world. The introduction of JDM makes this team a true NA hope, in my opinion. It's possibly the best lineup for North America that I have seen in a long time. I mean, although you have got Simple in there, it's not really North American. We'll let them have it. You know, they don't have many good players. We'll just let them have it. But really, this game does seem very 50-50. It really depends who does show up, but one thing I can say, this game is going to be amazing to watch. I'm personally going to go for the pick on Liquid just because I think they do look extremely good, so more or less that's the only reason. Next up, we had the 2 teams that had amazing starts on Train but just couldn't hold the lead, and they both ended up losing. So this of course is Mouse Sports and Envious. Envious actually only got 7 rounds against Liquid, and I'm pretty sure they got like the first 5 or 6, like a 5-0 lead, and they just got absolutely crushed. A lot of their players didn't turn up though. I feel quite sorry, because Kenny S was doing very well, but players like MBK and Devil, I think MBK only got 7 kills and Devil only got 8 kills, and you can tell they just weren't doing very well. They weren't getting the frags they needed. I can only really imagine that the scoreline would be so much better. I'm not sure if they would have won, but so much better if they could have got their frags into those double digits, you know, getting 15 kills each. Yeah, so Mousebots also lost to a comeback against VP, but weirdly you normally think, oh, you know, Mousebot, it's going to be Nico carrying, but actually Chris J was doing better. I can't remember exact amount how many kills he was doing better, and obviously kills isn't the only thing showing how well a player does, but Nico is very well known for going insane and just headshotting everyone. But Chris J did well, good as well, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily Nico doing bad, but I mean, if Chris J can show up and Nico, then this is looking very good for them to possibly take Envious out. Also, you do have to take in consideration, was it that Mouse were playing bad, or was it that VP was playing insane? Because I mean, Snacks, he turned up big time, and I think it's his birthday, so probably his birthday luck, right? But no, in all seriousness, they played insane. Mouse Sports did seem to have rounds they really should have won, or at least should have been a lot closer, and they kind of threw them. So it does make me kind of question a little bit if they are able to, you know, win against MVS and close out a game tomorrow. Mouse have actually won every single game, a match against MVS this year, apart from losing 1 map to them. So I really think Mouse should be the favourites here, and that's who I'm going to pick personally. This game is probably 60-40 in my opinion. I'm not sure what other people think, but in my opinion, I think Mouse should be the favourites here. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of MVS, to be honest. It's not that I hate them, I hate on them or whatnot. It's just that I am a fan. I would be more of a fan than Mouse Sports than I would of the MVS players. So that's who I'm going to be picking. Okay, so after all those games that are extremely hard to pick, I think it's nice just to have one game that's quite an easy prediction. And I don't mean to put FaZe down, but I mean, it's SK, the best team in the world. Now, I'm going to put my hand up and say I do support SK. I have done since the last, or just at the start of the last major. So I'm going to put my hand up and say that. This might be a little bit biased, but SK are playing insane. There's no doubt about it. And FaZe are playing well. Like, they beat Fnatic, and I think they beat them before the major as well. But Fnatic aren't as good as they used to be, so that's a little bit kind of misleading. I mean, it is possible FaZe gets this, the next or another huge upset in this major, but I just don't think it would be up against SK, possibly Fnatic or GT, depending on who wins that game that they're going to be playing. But I mean, SK literally were on a 14 win streak under the name of LG, obviously, when they had that. And that's not maps, that's actually matches before they came to the major. But they obviously, just before the major, they got beat by G2. But that when G2 was insane aimbotting. And obviously SK did get their revenge against G2 with all their players chipping in and Cold Zero going insane, which I'm very happy with because I actually put in my fantasy team as the commander, whatever is best to have kill death ratio. I mean, also FaZe have been playing well, like I just mentioned. So yeah, they beat Fnatic and all their players were playing quite well. They also beat TSM and Dignitas. And you know, they beat Fnatic again, just obviously in day one. And I mean, it really does show they do mean business, and they're not going to be counted out of this major. And it shows that they're not actually scared of this whole, they're in the death group, you know, they've got all these amazing teams in there. Really, everyone thought about them being the underdogs, the one that are definitely going to go out, and it's showing they're not going out with at least a fight. I could definitely see this game going into both teams having double digits, but I think that's as close as it's going to get. I think SK should close this one out, and I mean, if FaZe do beat SK, it is going to be such an amazing win, you know, such an amazing win for them to beat Fnatic, and then SK and prove everyone wrong and come out top number one place of the group of death, if everyone's been calling it. But realistically, I don't see it happening. So obviously, I'm going to go ahead and choose SK. So the last game of the day is probably a game that no one predicted would have happened, at least the two teams got against each other, and that's Fnatic versus G2. I mean, a lot of people thought that SK was going to choke and lose to G2 again, especially after they lost to them 2-0. And no one in their right mind would have predicted Fnatic to get beaten by FaZe. Okay, maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I think it was very unlikely. G2 put some really good rounds up against SK, and SK were playing amazing CSGO. Fnatic brought the game close to FaZe, but they just let it slip. I mean, JW did have that insane clutch, but even with that, he was slacking. He only had 13 kills, I believe. So these two teams actually did play last month, and well, G2 was playing amazingly. I mean, they beat them 16-2 on Overpass, which obviously is absolute stomp, and they beat them a bit of more of a closer game, but I mean, they still beat them 13-16 on Dust 2. But this was when G2 was playing absolutely insane. I mean, they beat SK, or LG at the time, and like, Shox and Scream showed up big time, and I think to destroy them again like that, they will have to turn up. But I think even then, I don't think Fnatic's going to be able to take G2 out personally. This is going to be quite a close game, but I just think Shox and Scream have been turning up again and again. I mean, maybe you've seen that video on Cobblestone of Shox literally tracing someone through the wall. I mean, that's how good he is. He literally used echolocation to find someone through the wall. I mean, when a player comes that good at a game, I think there's not much chance for Fnatic to win. Anyway, so this video was a lot longer than it was supposed to be. I'm sorry for that. But there was just quite a lot of stuff I wanted to cover, and obviously I had to cover every single one of these games. Obviously some of them I did a bit more in-depth, that were a bit more interesting, some of them not as much. But yeah, if I might do day 3, it depends if the games are interesting, because I especially wanted to do this day 2, because there was a lot of interesting games in this one. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you disagree with anything I've said, go ahead and leave a friendly comment in the comments. Please don't hate me. And yeah, thanks for watching.